India's nighttime energy crisis. Latest news. India is currently facing an unprecedented electricity demand surge, with peak power consumption hitting record highs driven by early and intense heat wave conditions. This episode is especially noteworthy not only because of the magnitude of demand but also because it is most severe after sunset, when the nation's enormous solar power is unavailable. The record demand surge. According to the Grid India data, India's peak power demand touched a historic 256 GW on April 25, 2026, with a shortfall of around 4.2 GW at 10:39 p.m. A day earlier, saw a peak demand of 240 GW at 10:34 p.m., accompanied by a steepest recorded shortfall of 5.4 GW. Crucially, daytime peak demand, around 3:45 p.m., was met without any shortage, exposing a structural vulnerability. The grid can handle solar hours demand, but struggles once the sun goes down. The solar paradox. India now has nearly 150 GW of installed solar capacity, a testament to its clean energy ambitions. But this very success creates a new problem: a sharp evening drop-off in generation, sometimes called the duck curve effect, where supply falls steeply just as residential demand climbs due to cooling needs. The grid then falls back entirely on coal, gas, hydro, nuclear, and wind to bridge the gap during non-solar hours, 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. Why coal plants failed to deliver? The immediate trigger for the shortfall was a spike in forced and partial outages in thermal power plants. While planned outages were expected at around 3 GW, forced and partial outages surged to nearly 26 GW, according to government sources. A senior official cited forced outages of around 18 GW in coal plants, with an additional 3 to 4 GW of partial outages, totaling around 21 GW of unavailable capacity. Thermal plants generated only 184 to 187 GW against an installed capacity of 227 GW, a significant gap. Extreme heat itself was the culprit. High ambient temperatures put additional thermal stress on generation equipment, reducing plant availability exactly when the grid needed it most. Price shock in the spot market. The grid stress has fed directly into electricity prices. Data from the Indian Energy Exchange, IEX, India's largest power trading platform, shows spot prices in the day-ahead market, DAM, hitting the regulatory ceiling of 10 Indian rupees per kilowatt-hour at night, before crashing to around 1 Indian rupee and 50 cents per kilowatt-hour during the day. This reflects a dramatic intraday swing, highlighting the solar hours surplus and nighttime scarcity. What makes 2025 to 26 different? Traditionally, India's peak power demand arrives during June, July or September, October. This year, the surge has arrived in April itself, an unusually early onset linked to an intense, prolonged heat wave. The last time annual peak demand was reached this early was in 2022 to 23. Year on year, the jump is steep. April 2025 saw a peak of 235 GW, compared to 256 GW already recorded in April 2026. Key challenges. Evening demand surge coinciding with the complete withdrawal of solar power creates a dangerous daily window of vulnerability. Forced outages in coal plants during peak heat. The very conditions that drive maximum demand expose a thermal generation reliability problem. Absence of utility-scale battery storage means there is no buffer to store surplus daytime solar energy for nighttime use. Early seasonality of heat waves is compressing the grid planning cycle, leaving less time to prepare. Spot price volatility, 1 Indian rupee and 50 cents to Indian rupee 10/kilowatt-hour within the same day, signals market stress and could burden distribution companies, DISCOMs. Way forward. Battery energy storage systems. BESS. Scaling up grid-scale storage is the most direct solution to the solar drop-off problem, enabling excess afternoon solar power to serve evening demand. Demand-side management. incentivizing large consumers to shift loads away from the 6 to 10 p.m. window can ease the peak. Thermal plant resilience, heat-proofing of coal plant equipment and improving predictive maintenance to reduce forced outages during summer months. Pump storage hydro, expanding pumped hydro capacity as a proven, large-scale storage technology. Operational leasing idle gas-based capacity, for evening peak support, alongside a coherent domestic gas pricing framework. Transmission strengthening, expanding inter-regional transmission capacity so surplus power in one region can flow to deficit zones without congestion. Conclusion. India's power crisis of April 2026 is a preview of a structural challenge that will only deepen as solar capacity expands and climate change brings forward and intensifies heat waves. The country has made remarkable strides in renewable energy, but the grid architecture, storage, thermal backup reliability, and demand management has not kept pace. The issue sits at the intersection of energy security, climate adaptation, grid infrastructure, and economic governance, making it a rich case study in the complexities of India's energy transition.